started doing street art, were you thinking that this is going to turn into an art career, or was it just for fun?
I didn't really have a plan about it. You know, I had a day job, I was working in magazines, and I was making a living, I was doing that. And for me, the street art was just, it was more like kind of this pure thing, where it's just like, I'm just doing this because I like it. You know, it's going to make LA look better. There wasn't like, oh, I can do this and people are going to like this and this will lead to something. It wasn't like that. It was just, of course I was aware that that could happen, but that really wasn't the plan. I didn't really have a plan. I never have a plan. Even for the show, like the show, kind of the show I kind of envisioned doing isn't this show. Like I kind of set out with sketches and ideas of what I wanted to make, and as I painted and as time went by, I just made the pieces I made. And it was only kind of, with about a month left, I was like, okay, I have to figure out the last X number of paintings I'm gonna do. That was kind of the only plan of it. And then there's this one, which has like 49 different characters in it. And I think, you know, when you look at it, like maybe it seems kind of simple and easy, but ultimately this was like kind of most ambitious painting I've ever done. I mean, this piece really was crazy.
So is each one of these characters, have they all been in another painting? Is this like showing an evolution on all your characters, or is this?
These are all basically new. I mean, it's not really like a roll call from the past. I've painted toys. I've done some posters kind of based on some of these characters. No, I really wanted to just do this piece that had all these different characters and really push myself to do different colors and different techniques and different kind of line qualities, and just kind of pulling these different guys together.
Now, is this called Buff Monster?
Yes.
Your character?
Yeah.
So is it a self-portrait?
Well, you could say that, but no, it's not like I set out to do a self-portrait.
What is it?
Basically, it's just this little character that I came up with, you know, in 2001 when I was still in college. I was drawing one night. I drew him with like a bucket and a roller, like he was going to paint over graffiti, he was going to buff it. So like immediately I called him the Buff Monster.
Okay.
At the time I was really thinking about street art and graffiti and it getting painted over. You know, being an artist and putting stuff in the street, that's like a positive, creative kind of thing. But equally as strong and in your mind when you put something in the street is you know it's going to get painted over, you know someone's going to take it. So this force that's going to destroy what you create, you know, the yin and yang, it's like a very strong thing. But I didn't feel anyone was really addressing that or bringing any attention to that thing. Because that's just as important as the creation part, right?
Right.
You create it, and that's why like you're going to climb high places or you're going to do these crazy things because you want it to last as long as possible. You're constantly aware that this thing could be gone immediately. And it wasn't intentional, but you know, people think that it's like a scrubbing bubble, right? So conceptually that connection kind of makes sense, although that wasn't what intense.
Well, it seems more like sex parts to me, like the Buff Monster thing. Is there something in that, or is that just in my brain?
Well, those are boobies.
I saw those. It looks like a little sex toy was what came to my mind. I mean, because your paintings do have something to do with sex, right?
Well, I don't think of them as like sexual really or erotic really. Yeah, there might be shapes or things that look like body parts and stuff, and things are squirting and oozing and there's all this going on.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like, it's cute, it's not like you have to like shield kids from it. For me, that's kind of like the delineation, like paintings that you can show kids and paintings you can't show kids, right?
Right, definitely. An adult might come in and see something sexual, and a kid would come in and see something cute and fuzzy. And that's cool.
Awesome.
And awesome.
You know, I mean, really, I mean, it should be a celebration, right? I mean, that's kind of how I look at it, right?
Yeah, so each painting is a celebration.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so sweet of you. So as we're walking through the show, I'm noticing a lot of red dots, and a lot of galleries are having a really hard time, and artists are having a really hard time making sales. So congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Why do you think that people are buying your work when there's galleries up and down the street that don't have any red dots on them?
Compared to like a lot of other paintings out there, I mean, I still think they're really reasonably priced. I mean, when you're dealing with crazy art world stuff, prices get really crazy. And still, like, those prices are still so far away from mine. Lots of things have happened recently, you know, like being in the Banksy movie and stuff, and the museum in England buying the painting. Corey Helford Gallery curated a show of 49 artists, like lowbrow, pop surrealist artists. So the show was at the Bristol City Museum in England. And I had a painting in that show. And then part of the show was I did a mural in the museum. So I painted 3 walls. And then I had my 15-foot tall ice cream balloon that was in my show here at Corey Helford last year. That was in the lobby of the museum. So everyone that came to the museum saw this awesome balloon of mine. And then towards the end of the show, the museum bought my painting that was in the show for their permanent collection.
Amazing.
You know? Yeah, of course. I feel validated. I feel honored. Like, I'm just like, dude, that's amazing. Like, for hundreds of years, that painting's going to be hanging in that museum and people are going to come see. And that goes back to the street art thing, because now it's like I achieved the permanence I always wanted. After making all this work that doesn't last in the streets, and you never know where paintings end up, I know where this one's going. You know, that one's staying there.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh man, I just got invited, man. Fucking 2 weeks, Rome.
Really?
In a month I'm going to Rome for 2 weeks. Kind of be like a featured artist in a couple events they're doing. I'll do some live painting, I'll paint a toy, and then they have like a Comic-Con thing the following week, and I'll be the featured artist for this thing. Yeah, and then like the day I leave is actually the day that all the art for the big Sanrio show coming up is due. You know, the big company that has like 200 or 300 characters, Hello Kitty being their biggest one, but they have all these characters.
Are you doing new work for the Sanrio show?
Yeah.
Wow. When will you have time to do that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. There are other booths that had pink walls, but they didn't have my pink because they're using house paint pink. And house paint pink isn't as good as my pink.
Did you ever use pink right out of the tube, or are you creating all of these different shades?
They're custom. There is a Buff Monster pink using just pink pigment. Oh, that's amazing. But what happens is you put like 3 coats down and it looks red. Yeah.
Well, I'm a little bit curious about the Sanrio characters. So these characters are already created by one of their designers.
Yeah.
You know, how much leeway do you have when you're doing a Sanrio character?
I can do whatever I want. I mean, they don't want anything that's like really violent or pornographic or something. So as long as you're not doing something like that, it's fine. Some of these characters like Hello Kitty have been around for 35 years. Like, I can't draw a better Hello Kitty. It's not so much about my take on Hello Kitty as like changing her. It's more just kind of treating her with reverence and doing a little bit my way, but honoring all the history of the character.
Right, you're taking Hello Kitty and putting it into your own environment, taking the character and putting it in.
Yeah. Kind of like a dream project of mine is to find, maybe it's not Baskin Robbins, maybe they're not so, you know, liberal, but get some sort of ice cream brand, like let's do a Buff Monster flavor, let me paint in 10 of your stores, and let's do some fun, cool thing. Part of why I majored in business when I went to college, you know, my dad was like, oh, well, you can do whatever you want, but you gotta like be able to pay your rent and stuff, right? Is that how you put it?
I think, yeah. I
Pay my expenses?
You had to make some money.
I had to make some money.
Yeah.
So I went to school for business originally because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew either way, business background would be good.
I majored in painting when I was in college along with architecture, so I come from an art background. And Buff Monster's grandmother is a painter also, so it runs in the family.
Well, obviously I grew up with my dad's like crazy paintings on the walls.
That's right.
And, well, no, yours, the ones you did though.
And we grew up in an artsy sort of environment.
Yeah, and so I was painting as a kid, you know, and I did this painting when I was in first grade. It's actually kind of funny because it actually doesn't look terribly different from some of the stuff I still do today.
Is this a diamond head?
Yeah, Diamond Head. So Diamond Head's a mountain in Hawaii. I did this painting of a guy with a diamond for a head, and he has like wings, kind of like the wings I draw some of my characters with. And that was in the first grade, and you know, I did it, and my parents were stoked, and they framed it, you know, this whole thing.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. We still have it.
buried away somewhere.
Yeah, I bet we could sell it. we have a lot of early Buff Monster pieces.
Did you know that your son was out doing street art?
Not initially, you know, not till he got arrested.
What?
Rob was like my best friend in high school, who I didn't know Rob very well. And one day, Rob was like, hey man, what do you think about graffiti? And I was like, oh dude, yeah, graffiti's awesome. And he's like, do you want to do some? And I was like, that's crazy. Like, us do graffiti? Like, whatever. So yeah, then, you know, being in Hawaii isn't like, it's not like LA was like just kind of graffiti everywhere. Like, so we had to like, we got like some graffiti magazines, because it's kind of before we got on the internet all the time. So we had to find magazines.
That's right.
And we had to look through each other's houses to see if we had any spray paint on hand. And then maybe try to buy spray paint from the, you know, the store, and that didn't work, you know. I'm like, so yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then at some point, I had done graffiti for a while, and then at some point, somehow Rob's mom was like really uptight.
Yeah,
And
she was definitely uptight.
one day, I don't know how she found out, but one day she found out, and her story was that I was the bad seed. I was the one that got her, you know, awesome son involved, whereas the other way around.
And she told us what the boys were up to.
Yeah.
And how did we feel about it?
Yeah.
And we were actually kind of going, wow, cool. And Buff here was just very straightforward. Oh yeah, we've been doing it for a couple of years. Wait, you want to see all the pictures? And he pulled out all these catalogs. I mean, it was like a photo show right there in front of our eyes. It was really great.
Well, you know, I mean, at that time, you know, graffiti was like a big passion of mine. I mean, that's what we cared about, that's what we talked about, that's what we did every weekend. It was like this whole thing. And then, of course, I had to hide it from my folks.
Right, you did a good job.
So, you know, when the time came where obviously I couldn't hide it anymore, it was like a big relief. Like, oh, cool, now I don't have to deal with this hiding thing anymore.
Come out of the closet.
I really look at street art and graffiti as two totally different things. Graffiti is a specific system of writing a name far and wide, high and big, and as much as you can do. In street art, it's not that same game. I see street art as like a gift in a way. Yes, it can be a self-centered thing, but it can also be a selfless thing, in that you're improving the environment in a way that, let's say, graffiti doesn't. I usually see Chaz every time he comes to LA. You know, I met Chaz in Barcelona in 2005 or 6. Took me around, showed me where to put up posters, and we had fun. But this is kind of the first time we've really painted together. I think sometimes, you know, with art, you have to like know about art, or you have to know, oh, what's this person interested in? That's the thing about street art, right? Is that it can be addressing some bigger, more common issues, and your work can resonate with different people for different reasons. So, you know, it's open to everyone, and that's the fun part about it, right? Cops are the only ones that like to disapprove. Anytime you talk about graffiti or street art or any of that, just by process of talking about it, it kind of romanticizes it. Kind of elevates it to this thing that isn't what it is. It's just, I'm gonna print some posters, I'm gonna put them up, and that's gonna be cool. You know, in January 2011 will be like the 10th anniversary of me drawing a little Buff Monster guy and putting him up out there. So if we kind of look back at all the things I've done in the last 10 years based on this little character, it's kind of crazy.